Divorcing and selling a house, which is more stressful? When I went through my divorce, people both said congratulations and I'm sorry. And I felt like both circumstances applied. I do and I have helped a lot of clients who were both going through a divorce and deciding to sell the house. And today I want to give some tips on how to navigate this. Unfortunately, divorce is not something I have any experience with. I have been through it. My husband has been through it. We're happily married now, both second marriages. One of my parents has been divorced 5 times, and I was around for 3 of those. My past employee who worked for me for a long time had also been through 5 divorces. I have been the maid or matron of honor 3 times in my life. And 2 out of the 3 times, those ended in divorce. And the one left is been on very rocky ground. From a personal standpoint, I know and understand how disorienting, how hurtful, how traumatizing, how hard it can be. So I want to give both tips as a realtor in this, and I also want to give tips from a personal standpoint to help you navigate this situation. So my first piece of advice would be, if you can, I think it would be better to sell the house and move. If you were my client and you were asking me from a personal perspective, should you stay in the house personally? And I would say no. Just like the client I had that lost her husband and took care of him, and then the house reminded her of the bad times where he was very sick. I think that there can be so many memories kept in a house, kept with the way things are. Like, even if you move all your stuff to another place, it doesn't carry the same memories, I don't think. You may look at certain personal items, and if that's the case, I would even consider getting rid of those things, especially if you can sell them for something that's worth it. But when I was going through my divorce, there was a real estate conference I attended, and I went to dinner with a friend who had just previously, very recently gone through a breakup. He had been with his girlfriend for 5 years, although they didn't get married. They had purchased a home together. And I had already made this decision at that point where I knew where I was going. So I wasn't going to keep the former house, but he advised me, and I thought this was a great piece of advice, that he kept the house and how it has more memories and it makes it harder to get over things. And so I think that selling when you're going through a divorce is really a good idea. So many times you've got to split the equity in this situation, and there can be court mandated divorces. And I think I would highly advise to come to an agreement before that. You can spend so much money in attorney's fees, and the longer things take, the more those hourly fees rake up. And so I think it's really in your best interest to try to settle things. And typically, if there is a winner loser in this circumstance, it's usually the more level-headed person typically comes out worse in this situation, because oftentimes there's a level of, do you keep fighting for something, whether it be money or whatever else may be involved, or do you just agree and try to move on with your life? I see oftentimes the person who's more angry, that's more bitter, that's more like they want to win more, they care about winning over other people. I see the more level-headed person, the more naive person in this situation can often get taken advantage of, pummeled, come out worse. But sometimes it's better, I think personally, to come out a little worse than it to drag on and on. I think the quicker it ends, the easier you can restart. I do think divorce and moving divorce is like the second worst thing you can go through, and moving's in the top 5. And so you're putting these 2 things together. And also starting over after setbacks is another top thing that's hard to do. So all of that kind of combines here. However, I will say that I think divorce can be more hurtful, especially depending on the circumstances, right? Because in my mind, And in my experience, I think it would be easier in some ways to lose someone and feel like you always had that love than to realize that the love didn't last or it didn't carry you through or whatever. I think this really can be one of the hardest things to go through. However, I think moving can give such a great distraction when you're packing and making decisions, and it can be such a good distraction. You've got your life, you've got everything going on, plus the grief of this. And so, really, my advice to anyone would be to stay busy, and this gives you something to stay busy doing. Advice I would also add in if you're dealing with this is to get outside, fresh air, sunshine, walking. What do they call it? Grounding, right? Barefoot, standing in the dirt or on the beach is great. I think having a new routine, I think trying to schedule your grief, if you can push it off till the end of the day and then just schedule yourself at the pity party, I would advise that. I think if you can, and moving can be part of this because it is a lot of work, it is a lot of exercise, but also to have some sort of workout, walking, something to distract you, to take up your time, and to make you feel better, release those endorphins. I think that's super helpful. Yeah, and I think getting out with friends, not trying to jump back into things too quickly, take time, read books, figure out, like, if you don't feel like you knew everything that went wrong or how it went wrong, I think taking time to reflect and really learn about what happened is super helpful. But if you need help, there are people like myself that specialize in this. There are realtors who take courses about learning all the aspects of dealing with divorce. We have a good friend in another state that is almost always the court appointed realtor in his area for divorces. He just really has specialized in this. If you need a recommendation for a referral, you can reach out to me. But I understand I've had clients that got along great, and I've had clients that fought terribly, and learning how to navigate as a realtor both sides and communicate with both people, regardless of what the circumstances are. I think you really need somebody with a high level of emotional maturity. Almost every transaction I handle, there's a hurdle we've got to jump over. And when you're dealing with such high emotions and there's hurdles that need to be jumped over, you do not want to deal with a realtor who is also very dramatic or inexperienced. You really need someone that knows what they're doing and has a great bedside manner. You really need someone that's going to be on your side, even if it's on both sides to navigate. They need to be able to stay neutral. Typically, you have two mediators or two attorneys, but in this case, you're going to be dealing with one person, whether you're getting along or not. Their best interest is to market your home, get it sold, get you the most amount of money possible so you can move on and start your life over. I believe the most important thing you need in an agent when you're dealing with this is a level of emotional intelligence. You need someone who can be the calm in the middle of a storm and that can keep you grounded. If you want a recommendation, reach out to me. If you want to talk about what you're dealing with, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to be a resource for you. The goals and priorities of selling can always be different, but this especially can make it different. And so the more important things may not be what normally are the important things in selling. If you need help, feel free to reach out. And what I would highly recommend are, if you are interviewing or looking for somebody, you really want to find out their experience in dealing with difficult situations, because I would prioritize that. You need someone with life experience here and not just the newest, hottest, greatest person making sales and running campaigns on social media. That's important. But what's more important is staying calm. So we can do both. We can recommend someone. And thank you for taking the time. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. And I hope that one day you feel like congratulations are in order because it was the right decision. Take care. Thanks for listening. I'll be your best friend realtor. Have a great day. Bye.